Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here. It's time for the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. It's Friday, the 22nd day of October. Hard to believe. Wow. 22nd day of October 2021. Hope you're ready for the weekend. It'll be pretty nice across much of the lower 48. Stormy out west, which is good. We've talked about that. They need all the moisture that they can get. And we have a new tropical depression in the southeastern Pacific, south of the coast of Mexico. We will discuss that feature. And a look ahead, I need some binoculars, right? A look ahead towards the first part of November. I mean, after all, we are about to wrap up the month of October. Maybe, just maybe, slight hints of a pattern change for the western parts of the Atlantic Basin, the Caribbean Sea. We'll see. So let's just get on with it. I'll show you what we have out there. This is the true color satellite animation here, or natural color, it says, from Tropical Tidbits. And there's our new depression in the southeastern Pacific. Kind of a larger and more sprawling system, perhaps, than Pamela was. TD number 17. It is forecast to eventually make its way up towards Mexico, somewhere maybe in the vicinity of Manzanillo. I'll show you that on the interactive tracking chart in just a moment. In the meantime, just straight trade winds through the Caribbean Sea for the time being. A little bit of disturbed weather streaming north and east out of that depression. But strong upper-level winds cutting through this area will preclude any development. And there's nothing congealing or coming together. Strong upper-level winds cutting through here. You can clearly see there's the storm system coming into California and vicinity. And we had some nasty weather yesterday in Ohio. Pretty ugly tornado up that way. Just going to show you, goes to show you that severe weather can be a problem any time of the year. And as we will talk about towards the end of the discussion today, maybe the last third or so, hurricane season does go through November 30th. You got to remember that. Just because it looks shut down now doesn't mean that it will stay shut down throughout the rest of the season. Nature doesn't follow calendars, and it certainly doesn't follow what we're talking about here. Nature's going to do what nature's going to do. Whether or not we're here tracking it, it doesn't matter. So let's see what we got. Speaking of tracking, here's the interactive tracking chart from the HurricaneTrack Insider site. This is TD17, forecast to eventually become a hurricane, move its way up towards near Manzanillo. I say near, south and east by a pretty good distance here. I think it'll be even more south and east than that in a more sparsely populated area, which would be good overall in the scheme of things, certainly. If you have interests up in the Puerto Vallarta area, even though that region is within the cone of uncertainty here, or the forecast track cone, really. That's that blue area. I've outlined it in a box. There's PV, Puerto Vallarta. It'll be well east of there, with most of the weather kind of, and the rain and everything kind of wrung out over these mountains here. So no real problems, I don't think, in Puerto Vallarta, where I know at least one person there, Judith, who helped us out, Brent and myself, during our mission down there for Pamela last week. So hello, Judith. Good to talk to you again. You don't have to worry about it. So tell your friends and family, no worries in the Puerto Vallarta area. So, that's the deal with what will eventually be Rick. And we can see that reflected in the GFS from this afternoon. Well, it's the morning run, the 12Z run. I'm showing it to you this afternoon. 850 millibars, about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. Let's use a color that'll pop here. How about the color black? There is the vortmax, or the vorticity maximums, or whatever, of TD number 17. So let's put this into motion one frame at a time. 24 hours out tomorrow morning, and then Sunday morning another 24 hours out. It's practically onshore, so the GFS is quicker to the coast and farther to the south and east than the official forecast track, and then boom, it's over the rugged terrain, raining itself out over the beautiful countryside of Mexico. You see that? It moves in. And it's definitely more to the south and east of where the official forecast track is. So we will see how that evolves over time. Meanwhile, focus your attention as well out across this region. And let's just stretch this all the way out to the next 2 weeks. Through the next 2 weeks. Nothing coming together in the Caribbean, as you can see there, all the way out into the first week of November. You do notice, though, as we go back and forth, quite a few of these impulses that come across the lower 48. It's fall, it's autumn, and there's more energy coming out of the higher latitudes, mid-latitude storm systems, as it were. And we got to watch that for the potential of severe weather, but nothing gets going down in the Atlantic or the Caribbean for the time being. But that might change if we look at the phase diagram here of the MJO. This is the Euro. That is a pretty decent amplification. This is the ensemble mean. I do believe it amplifies out. Some of the other members are even more amplified. So maybe as we get towards the end of the month, and we are running out of days here, Monday will be the 25th, for goodness sakes, and then that's pretty much it. We have a week left or so, a little less than a week at that point in time, and then it's November. So if this is going to happen, this is it. This is when it's going to happen. This particular amplification of the Madden-Julian oscillation, and just what that does is it basically brings in a more favorable umbrella of development potential for the region that the diagram chart is indicating. And those of us that know what to look for realize that, as I shrink this back down, we're talking about basically into phases 1, which is right there, and maybe getting close to phase 8, which is generally the Western Hemisphere and Africa. So this could favor more activity blossoming, or at least having a chance, in the Western Caribbean, and that's reflected SFL Kane, South Florida Kane, on Storm 2K, picking up on this as well. Maybe one last hurrah. We'll see. What is this? I zoomed in on it, or pulled the picture of it out, I guess you could say, so we can focus on it. And this is the Spaghettio plot, just a visualization tool of the ECMWF Ensemble Prediction System, the EPS, and this is a snapshot at hour 360. Yes, it's way, way out there, but the ensemble kind of hinting, and look, to be fair, this is only a few of the 51 members, indicating, and there's a few of them that are pretty intense in there. That's what this shows, some of those pressures getting down, into major hurricane territory, but honestly, not wanting to hype up something that isn't there, that's only a few members. But the other way to look at it, that's way out in time, that enough members are showing it that it's at least worthy of watching. And it's hurricane season. This is what we do. We watch this kind of stuff. And if we think back to 2001 as an example, last year, let's just toss that out. That was an anomaly. Like I think this year is an anomaly that it just shut off so abruptly. So let's just look back in time at 2001 as an example. Hurricane Michelle came out of the Western Caribbean around the first part of November. I went down to the Florida Keys with my colleague Jesse Bass for that hurricane. It did not impact to any great degree this part of the Keys. Michelle, I don't remember exactly, it cut across something like that. Roughly, it was a Central Cuba and Bahamas issue with some impacts, near tropical storm conditions in the Keys. But that was in the first part of November of 01, just as an example. So yes, you can get development. And remember, like I said, hurricane season goes through November 30th. It doesn't end when we say it ends when it ends. And even on the calendar, we say traditionally November 30th. It's not going to shock me with all the warm water that's out in this area that we see something even in December, kind of extending the season along from there. But we'll worry about that later. Nothing for the weekend, nothing for the next week. And so we will focus more on this real quick. And this is really important. Yesterday, again, we had some severe weather in Ohio with a pretty nasty tornado up that way. I saw a lot of tweets and stuff about that. Different friends of mine who went to Ohio State that are meteorologists now in television, they were very concerned about that. So sort of this second severe weather season, it's been very warm across a good deal of the eastern part of the country. Lots of deep moisture coming in from that very warm Gulf of Mexico. And energized moisture, whatever, that is fuel for severe weather. So to that end, this is the day one outlook today. Maybe a little bit of thunderstorm activity in my neck of the woods, extreme South Florida. You get the idea. There's just a few patches of potential severe weather for today. And as we move through the next few days, this is tomorrow. Slight risk in parts of the traditional Tornado Alley area. Day 3 going into Sunday. That's an eye-opener. That could be a big problem in a rather difficult area for storm chasers and storm spotters. For one thing, heavily wooded, some population areas in there, so that could be problematic. Pay attention. Again, this is coming up on Sunday. And then further out into time, however you say it, the day 5 time frame has my attention. That is in the heart of the Tornado Alley area. And so we'll have to see about that. Maybe, just maybe, I might be heading out there to take a look myself in person. It's right in the traditional spot there. Just depends on whether or not it's going to be all at night. Remember, the sun goes down at just an awful hour now. What, like 6:30, 7 o'clock? I hate that. I like those 9 o'clock sunsets. But really, we got to watch this, okay? That warm Gulf. Remember, a lot of energy down there. What's not producing hurricanes, that energy still filters in to these storm systems, these mid-latitude storms, and we can get some pretty nasty, severe weather even in October. All right, we are on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and you know, I hear that they are thinking about renaming Facebook. I've got a suggestion. Add the and call it the Facebook. And if you saw the Social Network movie, you understand that very bad dad joke. Sean Parker might laugh. I don't know. If you know Sean Parker, tell him Mark made a funny joke. Add it. The Facebook. Anyway, we're on, for what it's worth, Twitter and whatever this is going to end up being, the Facebook or who knows what. And YouTube, of course, and we are crowdfunded by the Patreon. Patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. That's where we are, crowdfunded by over 900 people worldwide. That is how we fund what we do. You can aim your camera at that little QR code if you want to know more about it. And you know what? I was looking through that the other day, Patreon. There are a few other people in the weather world. You know, Levi, Dr. Cowan with Tropical Tidbits, the Weather Nerd site. But there's also this guy, Pecos Hank. Some of you know who that is. And his stuff is remarkable. He does his own music like I do. And so that's pretty cool. Patreon really does do a lot for people, not just in the weather. It's a really neat platform for creators of all types to have support on a monthly basis to do what they do and to bring you extraordinary content such as what I try to do, Pecos Hank and others out there in the world of weather and other creative facets. So, you know, if you can, become a part of that through crowdfunding and you help to direct what we do. I will direct you to have a good weekend. How about that as a segue? I will probably take the next couple of days off, maybe something on Sunday, just working on other projects and not a lot to talk about. So maybe back on Sunday, and then of course very early Monday morning we'll do something and talk about the week ahead, and then we'll go from there. So you guys have a great weekend coming up. As I said, I'll probably do something Sunday, especially with the severe weather potential coming up, and we will take things from there. As always, thanks for tuning in and giving me some time and attention each day. I do appreciate it. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We'll talk again Sunday.